What you think is bad, you will look down. What you think is good, you will look up. If you remove this and just learn to look at life for what it is, you will effortlessly navigate through your life.
Gary Oak, a reoccurring character throughout the history of the Pokemon anime, who was Ash Ketchum's childhood friend and very first rival. While they were once friends, the boys grew to form a rivalry between each other, where Gary always viewed himself as the superior trainer, causing him to look down upon Ash, in a rivalry that resulted in him creating a cocoon of arrogance around himself. Despite Ash proving that he himself is in fact a trainer with potential, Gary would never miss the opportunity to condemn Ash and tease him for his lack of skill and how far behind he is in comparison to him. On one hand, there was a significant basis for this teasing. Gary was the much better trainer in many ways, from having much better progress with his Pokédex than Ash and most other trainers, and even having more badges than what was required to enter the Pokemon League. His competence as a trainer was nothing to laugh at, but his arrogance always overshadowed his other qualities. Within a few hours of receiving his first ever Pokemon, Gary had a team of cheerleaders ready who would follow him across his journey and always cheer for him in battle. Not only that, but he left on his journey in a sports car. Rather than walking or biking like most trainers, he had a chauffeur take him across Kanto in this car, always trying to publicly prove to everyone that he's a step above the rest of them. But as much as he thought that to be true, it was only true in his imagination, and it was a reality that didn't strike him until he managed to be brutally defeated in battle. When he went up against Giovanni and Mewtwo, he quickly came to realize that he was lacking something, but despite his slight realization, he still couldn't keep his arrogance aside. It was only after his defeat in the Indigo League that he realized that he needed to change. Gary realized he needed to change the kind of person he was. Following this defeat, Gary left on his own Pokemon journey and returned after Ash's victory from the Orange League. And this time, when he returned to Palatown, Gary was almost an entirely different character from the one that we knew before. From his dialogue, to the way he carried himself, to the way he battled, it was very evident that this was not the same Gary that we had previously seen. Despite winning the Orange League, Gary still managed to defeat Ash in a one-on-one Pokemon battle. But the most surprising thing about this battle wasn't Gary's victory, but rather his attitude. Throughout the battle, it's Ash who tries to make it a point to Gary that he's now superior than him since he's won the Orange League and made it to a higher ranking than him in the Indigo League. But rather than throwing a snarky reply back, Gary remains calm and respectful and tells Ash that he just wants to battle, showing more maturity than Ash and later complimenting him and even praising him as a trainer despite his loss. Furthermore, upon the victory, Professor Oak praises Gary for how much he has improved. Gary accepts the compliment but states that he has a lot more to learn and leaves to do exactly just that. As the series continues, we see Gary change more and more drastically throughout his journey in Johto. He's no longer carrying a team of cheerleaders with him wherever he goes and having a driver take him around the region. Instead, he chooses to travel the journey by foot, with just him and his Pokemon, something he never would have done back in his adventures in Kanto. Furthermore, Gary begins to develop even greater respect for Ash, his Pokemon, and his friends, as he begins to go out his way to help them, compliments Ash's Pokemon, and even begins to share proper, respectful conversations with the occasional insults that our rival would throw, that our friend would throw. Yes, the two of them were starting to become friends, and they were beginning to learn from one another. And this all happened when Gary started to view Ash as an equal. When Gary dropped his arrogance and started to learn from humility. For the remainder of Johto, Ash and Gary's rivalry and friendship would continue to grow, with the rivalry finally coming to a close in the Johto League, where Gary admits his defeat and decides that he wants to go the way of becoming a Pokemon researcher rather than being a Pokemon trainer, and the two go their separate ways. However, Gary still maintained his battling capabilities, and more importantly, he maintained his humility, and would even be the one to teach it to Ash in the future. When Ash once again won a major event, this time being the Battle Frontier, Gary noticed that Ash was once again being arrogant and takes on Ash in another one-on-one battle. And after beating Ash, Gary tells him not to get overconfident, once again reminding him of this quality of humility and maturity, serving as a means for Ash to grow once again. Arrogance and humility remain to be the two most significant aspects of Gary's character in the anime. While he was arrogant, he never learned anything from Ash, always putting him down and constantly looking down on him. He saw nothing to gain or give from their interactions together and threw him aside, only using him as a means to publicly look better in front of him. But when Gary left and came back after the Indigo League, he no longer saw Ash that way. He began to see Ash as an equal, observing and learning from him and his Pokemon, something he could have only done if he saw them as equals. If you look down on something, naturally there's nothing to learn, because what can you learn from something you deem as less than yourself? But if you realize that no one's on a pedestal, and that there's something to learn from everyone, then you begin to see the best in people, learn from them, and even give your own best to all of them. Again, as shown in his battle with Ash after the Battle Frontier. When Ash himself begins to get overconfident, it's Gary who decides to be Ash's teacher, who reminds his friend to put his arrogance aside and goes onward with his own journey, showing the drastic amount of growth that he's gone through, offering his best to the people around him, all the while striving to move forward to continue to learn from everything and everyone around him. Gary may have lost the final battle of their rivalry, but if you ask me, his humility and his defeat brought a much greater growth to his character than any victory possibly could have, as he now carries with him a lack of vanity that he otherwise may not have achieved. A lack of arrogance that not only helped Gary grow and see everyone as equals, but one that has also helped Ash grow in many ways, and one that I'm sure that will continue to help all those around him. As that's Gary. That's the one who's learned from humility.
In your mind, you've decided what is good, what is bad, what is high, what is low, what is virtue, what is sin, what is filth, what is wealth, everything. Everything is already determined. Once you've done this, there is no way you cannot look up at something or look down on something. What you think is bad, you will look down. What you think is good, you will look up. If you remove this and just learn to look at life for what it is, you will effortlessly navigate through your life, effortlessly. Right now, this is the problem. You are looking up to some people, looking down on some people and trying to be humble with them. There's no need to be humble. Treat everybody as rough as you treat yourself. That is, if you're treating yourself rough. If you are pandering to yourself, try with others, then you'll get tired, then you'll treat them rough anyway. Yes. So, this is simple. I'm telling you the same thing what I told her. It worked miraculously for her. Never look up to anybody, never look down at anybody. Just see everything the way it is.